All right, welcome to another episode of After the Close. Happy New Year! It is January. With me, as always, is Thomas. Thomas, sir, how are you?
Good. Happy New Year. Good to be here.
For anyone who's only listening on the audio, he did a salute.
Hmm. Not
Listen,
a, not, not just a regular salute. Nothing weird.
yeah, just two of us this month, sir. Everybody's busy, which I understand. It's been a tough quarter. How was New Year's?
New Year's. This New Year's Eve was probably the best New Year's Eve I've had in a really, really, really long time. So New Year's Eve to me is overrated. Going out and partying and doing all that stuff when you're in your teens and your 20s and whatever. But this year, just pretty low key. Stayed at home, hung out with the kids, had a lot of fun at home.
Did you make it to
Games,
midnight?
whatnot. Oh, that's a good question. Yes, yes. We did. We were watching. So we did our celebration early with the kids. So we found a nice countdown for found a Bluey countdown. So we did the Bluey
You did like the
countdown.
countdown at like 8:45 p.m.
Yeah, like whatever it was. It was like 7:30 or whatever it was. And so we did the celebration. We did some drinks or whatever, and then I got a rousing rendition of the alphabet song on our newly owned karaoke machine. So
Ooh.
that was the big hit. And yeah, then we watched firework displays from around the world. That's what we did because obviously at 7:30 it's not really being celebrated in America. But we watched the London fireworks celebration, and then we watched like the Hong Kong fireworks celebration, which is pretty cool. Some of those celebrations, it's funny. We were trying to find them, and the London one was fantastic. The London one was right on the Thames River, and then it was right near the London Eye, and they were like shooting fireworks off the Ferris wheel and stuff. That was really cool. And then there was like Australia's was cool, like near the Sydney Harbor. That was pretty fun to watch. But then there were some like in like Beijing was terrible. That wasn't great. And then I saw one later on where they're mixing drones with firework displays, which is pretty awesome.
Is this the
So
China
what they did
one?
was,
That made news because it like hit a kid. Did you hear
oh,
that?
maybe I don't know, but the one that I saw, like the drones created like a robot mask, and they were like
Mhm.
shooting lasers out of the eyes, and then it like exploded on the ground and stuff. So it was pretty cool. It was a good mix of you know cool things. But I think the future is going to be drone shows, not necessarily fireworks.
I
But
think the drone shows will be around for like a few 2, 3 years. It'll be like gimmicky, and then it'll end up being in like Epcot. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't know. I think they're pretty cool. I think they can do a lot more with them, and I've never actually seen one live. I don't know how loud they are because I mean drones have like that low humming, I guess,
Good
and I don't
question.
know
I don't
how
know.
that compares to like how like a firework display is because like people with like little kids and dogs who aren't necessarily like into large loud bangs or whatever, is a drone show equally as visually entertaining and just not as loud? I don't know. Also, communities like say like your local community want to put on a drone show instead of firework display. Well, some cost to get the drones in there, but then they might own 100 drones and you just reuse them.
Well, I feel like that's a third party operation. I feel
Yeah.
like maybe you've got like a. So here's my problem with it, right?
Okay.
Fireworks are
Well,
cheap. Fireworks are cheap to produce,
mm-hmm.
and you have then the ability to have fireworks all over the place. To your point, like if you do you buy 100 drones and you do like a drone show. Well, that's it. Like those drones can't be in 29 townships all over the
Yeah,
place
that's a
doing
good point. Yeah.
29 different shows.
Yeah, yeah, and somebody will figure it out. And you're right. Yeah, like a township isn't going to buy those drones. It's going
They're
to
not
be a
going to
third
buy the
party that's
drones,
just going
and
there.
then
It's going to be a carnival. It's going to be a carnival. They go from town to town, and then they go.
right,
You
but they
know,
can only be booked for like one place. They'll be booked in like Vegas. Like
right.
Vegas will have a drone show on New Year's, or Manhattan will try it once, and then they'll say like, people will get like people thought it was gimmicky and they want their fireworks over the Hudson River. Uh,
True. Yeah, true.
it's just you have to have so many for it to be worthwhile that everybody gets it. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I enjoy the videos of them. I think they're fun. I would like to see more of them because I think the things you can do with them are a lot more creative than just fireworks. Like after 5 minutes of fireworks, you're like, all right, yeah, I get it. But
I like
drones, you never
fireworks.
know what's going to come out. So, but yeah, this New Year's Eve was New Year's slash New Year's Day was probably one of the best I've had in a really long time. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Had a good time. And then you know, caught up on we watched a good movie on Netflix that night after the kids went to bed. It was called On Call or Carry On. That's what it was. Carry On. It was on Netflix.
Is that the
It
one?
was
Oh, Jason Bateman did that one.
Jason Bateman. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, it was
saw
pretty good.
it.
It was good. Yeah, and I think the guy's name was like Egerton. I don't know, some other guy. It's pretty good. It was like a thriller. It was kept you on the edge of your seat. It's good.
You seem thrilled.
Jason Bateman was surprisingly good. Yeah. Well, it's not very often I get to sit down for 2 consecutive hours and watch a movie. So so that
I
was a
say that
treat
all
in
the time
itself.
with the movies thing. So for first of all, we didn't even stay up till midnight. New Year's
Mm.
Eve was like any other night, same exact bedtime. Everyone just went to bed. I think
Right.
I stayed up till like 12:07 or something,
Mm.
and I didn't even watch like a ball drop. I just happened to be up until past midnight.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's get that prostate. You go to the bathroom. Oh, Happy New Year.
yeah, New Year, new me. So we didn't really do anything for New Year's. We were the late. That's what happens when you get to your 30s, I guess, and you have kids and stuff like that. You're a little less concerned about the pomp and circumstance of New Year's Eve. But
Right. Right. Yeah. It was it was good though. I mean, it was fun to just. I took a half day that day. I was supposed to be working, so took a half day and just hanging out in the afternoon with the kids. That was a lot of fun, just to mess around. We went and got a. I took my oldest to like Walmart like the day before, and we picked out some snacks. Like that was the thing. Like let's just pick out some snacks, whatever. So we were loaded up with like you know little kid snacks, which was fun. Got some we got some Kool-Aid and those little like squeezy things. You know what I'm talking about?
oh yeah, I
Like
know what those are.
yeah, a six pack, and then I got a
Dunkaroos, get some Gushers. You get some
yeah, we got what do we got? We got like crackers and cheese, the normal like kind of spread and stuff.
oh, a
So
little
I
charcuterie,
yeah, little charcuterie board. I like this cheese in a can that you spray in a cracker.
like Cheese Whiz.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, whatever the Walmart version is.
You get the
You just
generic Cheese Whiz.
oh, of course, yeah, man, yeah. This stuff is the cheaper the better. And yeah, so that was my little treat. I got some
Oh,
crackers and some cheese whiz,
our
and
motto in
then
college.
yeah, got a pack of Yoo-Hoo.
Pack of
And
Yoo-Hoo. Oh, look at
yeah,
you.
yeah, going chocolate, getting chocolatey wasted on New Year's Eve. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was good, and then got to watch a movie. That was great. And then the day of, you got to turn on 30 seconds of the Mummers Parade during the Philadelphia viewing area. Yeah,
Well,
you know.
that's local. That's a local thing for sure. Like people aren't gonna watch that in like Kentucky. The
No, well, people in Philadelphia don't even watch it. It's it's 30 seconds is plenty. It's just so weird and like it's so convoluted and you don't really understand what it is and it's so weird. It's just okay, it's a thing that's happening. Cool. And then you move on with your life. So, but yeah,
Fair
but
enough.
it was on Wednesday, so like the next day got to go to work and then everybody's gearing up for the new year and trying to get all their stuff done. So like those 2 days after New Year's Day was crazy. Just, can't really can't really relax on New Year's Day because you know it's coming, the impending doom of all the things that are coming on Thursday and Friday.
All those things that will be circling back. It's like a boomerang from hell.
Yeah, basically, yeah, December was just a wash, and then, yeah, it was so many things these past week and a half or so. That's
I'm the
so intense.
opposite camp when it comes to the working around the holidays. I will things always end up being so slow that I'll work it and let like other so like people who want to go away if they want to travel far around Christmas, New Year's, whatever, then they can go. It's fine. I'll just hold down the fort, not take a vacation day, but kind of just chill and like have slow days at work, and it's no big deal. As long as I'm not traveling anywhere, that was always my motto. Save the vacation for when I want to use it.
Right, and that was kind of my since I've been working, that's always been my kind of thought is that I that was my catch up week. The week between Christmas and New Year's was I'd get caught up on all the ticky tack little things that I needed to just close the loop on and just finalize and just go catalog stuff and organize things, get ready for the new year. But this year I was trying to do that, and I said, all right, I'm going to try to take like the 2 days after Christmas off, like those that Thursday and Friday, and then that Thursday, I had to log in and do a bunch of crap in the morning. I'm like, it really kind of sucked, kind of put a damper on it. And then Friday at 7:30, my phone was ringing off the hook about so many issues, and I'm like, all right, well, looks like I gotta sit and deal with this. So the 2 days I was trying to take off, I didn't get a chance to take off, and I was like, ah, it's really it really sucks. But it's just part of the gig.
Wow, you are such a trooper.
Yeah, well, I had my heart set on taking at least a day off, and that just didn't really happen. So
No, I
I don't
get
know.
it. It
It's one of those
sucks.
things where, yeah, it was just when you wake up and you're not expecting to have to do anything, and your phone is going crazy, like something's a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to address this.
we've all been there. I've worked most holidays for one reason or another. The worst is when you're in the trading floors and stuff like that, depends on what department you actually are in, right? So when I was in FX, that was the worst because somewhere is always open. Just because
Mm,
it's a US holiday doesn't mean they're not trading in London and
right,
Tokyo or anywhere else. So FX desks are pretty much manned every day. The only day, ironically, that it's actually closed is January 1st because
mm,
New Year's Day is a holiday everywhere. So
right,
nothing is open. Even like OTC FX is largely just shut down. You might
mm,
be able to get a few like little OTC transactions somewhere internationally, but that's about it.
right.
So somebody has to work every day. You want to work Martin Luther King Day. You're going to work Christmas Day. You're going to work Thanksgiving. You're going to work Easter. You got to work all of the days at some point. So I've done that coverage on holidays. I definitely like brought like in like Tupperware Thanksgiving dinner one year because I had to like be in the office on Thanksgiving Day because the FX markets were open across the world, and that's just what it was.
Right,
With some of the
right.
other stuff, though, if you're more in like if you're just in U.S. equities, then you get a lot of days. Jimmy Carter Day, that was a fun
Mhm.
one because Jimmy Carter Remembrance Day, some of the stuff was closed ad hoc, so that was like a freebie. That was the other
Mm,
value. Not for FX because
mm,
for the same reasons, but all of the I think that yeah the different exchanges that did close down or closed early, you get a freebie. Thanks, Jimmy
yeah.
boy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I guess if you live to 100, you get one of those days. Yeah.
He lived to 100 so that we get an afternoon off. That's right.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That son of a bitch lived to be 100 years old.
Hmm.
That is wild.
Yeah. That
I
is
mean,
wild to think about what the world was like in 1925 or 1924. 100 years ago. That's amazing to see what the transformation in his lifetime, like just what it's crazy. It's, he lived through World War II. He was before World War. He knows the world before World War II.
I mean, yes, I suppose so. I don't know. God, I don't know how lucid the man was at 100
Well,
because
not at
like
100, but I mean, you figure at say 70. Like he probably has vivid recollections of being like 10 years old in the 1930s. You know what I mean? Like
how many
you know,
vivid recollections do you have of being 10 years old? Four? You have like four specific memories?
I don't know, but I mean, you definitely can remember stuff though. It's not out of the question that you remember things when you're 10. That's not weird,
No, it's not
you know.
weird to remember things from when you were 10, but I'm saying like how many things do you really remember, and how many things you honestly think you're going to remember 60 plus years from now about when you were 10?
Mm, I don't know. I'll let you know when
I'll
I'm
let you
there.
know. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
let's put it on the calendar. Trader Dads and 20 whatever 64. Let's put it on the calendar.
All right. We got it. Done. See you there. That man, though, he got a good, he had a good run at,
Mm,
at 100. What I thought was interesting, they always start, I hate statistics that don't make any sense. And I'm not, what I mean is that like
as
they're not
most would.
and what I mean is they're not comparable. So like baseball's really bad at this. Like they'll be like it'll be like the Yankees and the Dodgers are playing and there'll be like some weird like balk into a double play. There'll be some oddball statistic that happens in that game and then they'll be like, "Man, that hasn't happened." And then it'll be like since the Yankees played the Dodgers in 1949 and blah 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 blah. And you're like, cool, that's interesting, but it has no bearing on what's happening now. It's just dumb trivia, you know? They make it sound like the same
Right.
players had been playing against each other
Mm,
since 1949 and it was somehow comparable. So
mm,
that's the worst of it. But when Jimmy Carter passed, they started throwing out all these like random comparisons of him versus other presidents, like how old were
mm,
other presidents when they died and how old were they when they were president and what did they do
mm,
after and all this nonsense. And so some of it, one of the things I realized was that's like good Lord, it's certainly not fair. Like Jimmy Carter lived to be freaking 100. Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush were in their 90s. LBJ dead at like 66, 67.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
lost out in 30 years.
yeah.
Like when you think of it that way, like the other one's got an extra 30 years to like just bask in the post-presidential glory of like
Well, that's the
their
thing,
book
right? What, so
deals
like
and
Carter's
their
president what?
engagement fees.
So he was president what, from 77 to 80, and like
He won in
that.
76. He was president from 77 to when Reagan came in
Yeah,
January
so
of
he
81.
had 44 years of post presidency. Like that's insane.
That's
That
becoming more of a thing for like a lot of reasons. So like Obama. Like
uh,
Obama's just gonna be like hacking around for another like 25 years.
yeah, he's and
Clinton
he
is
was
still hacking
relatively
around.
young when he took office.
Yeah, exactly.
Clinton,
Like Clinton was only
Clinton is
42 or something when he got elected. So he's been hacking around for like 30 years
yeah.
now.
I mean, he's in his 70s now, so I mean,
Yeah.
he's getting up there. He's starting to look old. He's starting to
Well,
look.
I think
He's
he's
not
had a
looking like
good
Slick
run
Willie
so.
playing the saxophone anymore. He's looking, yeah, he's he's looking a little rough.
Well,
But yeah,
I think he made the most of the time. That man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So um when obviously with all the presidents and stuff, all the photos of the the five of them sitting there at the the funeral on the ninth or whatever. Somebody in one of my groups sent a picture of Bill Clinton sitting behind his desk at the Oval Office, and the caption was,
There's
"Kids
two
born
people
after
behind this desk.
2000 don't know that there's two people in two people in this picture."
Yeah, that's
so
an old
the
yeah.
guy he was at dinner with his like 17-year-old niece, and he showed it to her, and she didn't understand it. They're like like right over her head. Like, yeah, I guess that's a thing. It's starting to, yeah. I have no concept of like um kids who are, I guess, born after 2000 ish, like what their perception of the world is. I guess
Well,
for
there's
lack
like
of a
well
better word,
really
born
there's like a
after
gap
2001.
because you
Yeah,
do have a perception of what like your children kind of think of the world. So there's really like
I
a
agree.
gap.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, unless you just happen to like hang out with underage kids. Maybe you do. I don't know.
No, I'm 35. If I was hanging out with somebody who was 30, they would have a completely different view of the world than I would. Like, I yeah.
Well, when I was teaching, and I was in middle school classes, I hadn't dealt with middle school kids in quite some time, and their
Uh,
like just attitude on things is very different. Like they're like one of the big tent poles here is remote work, and they're
right,
shooting everybody back to the office. JP Morgan just announced that they're going to have everyone back in the office 5 days a week, which okay, fine, they're going to do what they're going to do. But
yeah,
I was in like a middle school classroom like less than a year ago, and all they have are laptops, and all they do is go from room to room to room. They
right,
are very, very mobile, and they have everything that like they are being like trained to default to kind of a like flexible schedule.
right. Yeah,
And so like this whole new generation that's going to come up is going to be like like what is this nonsense that I have to like travel and go to this place and whatnot.
yeah.
Like I
Like
understand that
commuting
they
is
have
going
to
to
do that
be
now is they go to their like school like
school, right?
but they are they have remote learning days now. Like there's no like concept of a snow day. They
Right,
have they are constantly traveling around. All they're doing is relying on their laptop. Really doesn't matter. They go into like their study hall. They can be anywhere, is my
right,
point.
right.
So like the idea of being chained to a desk is like, what are we doing here, people?
Yeah, that's something that's come up recently in our company. So when COVID hit, we scrambled, I would say, not scrambled, but we had like a VPN system set up, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as robust as it should have been. And our company made a pretty significant investment in infrastructure right before COVID to kind of promote that sort of thing. And then when COVID hit, we were kind of almost, I wouldn't say ready for it, but it really sped up the transition in kind of doing all that stuff.
I
So
mean, that happened
since
everywhere, but yeah.
COVID, yeah. So since COVID, like we've our company kind of took the stance of it's up to your managers as to what the responsibility is of whether being in the office or not being in the office. So it
Hmm.
kind of varies along the company as like what we're going to do because different disciplines have different ways of accomplishing what they need to accomplish. And certain places, like I know so the structural guys, they all can work remotely if they wanted to, because what they're doing is very easily transmittal. Like you can transmit that pretty easily. And there's one guy who like is 100% remote in their group. Like he just works from home and that's it. And he's great. And he works really hard and he gets the job done. It's not a problem. Other disciplines like mine really benefit from being face to face and like going through something like on a pen and paper in person, really like talking it through so that the younger staff who aren't as experienced can really understand and learn from people with more experience. And that's been a thing that people kind of what I do, that's more of what they prefer is being in the office and having that face to face interaction and stuff. So it just came out that like with people like JP Morgan, for instance, like going back to work full time, our company is considering doing something similar to that. Like, hey, everybody's kind of got to be in the office at least X amount of days, like 3 or 4 days a week, and trying to get that going, which is like, oh, people aren't really going to like that. But
No, no one likes to have change imposed upon them. Of course not.
I should say lack of freedom. So like, if you went from going from 5 days a week in the office to 3 days a week in the office, everybody's like, oh, this is great. But then going the opposite way,
Right. Nobody
both were
likes having
change.
something imposed on them.
But yeah, both were, but you could have been in the office 5 days a week if you wanted to when we went to 3 days a week. Like there are people that work 5 days a week in the office. Like that
Yeah,
option
people
is
who hate
there
their
for you.
wives, hate their kids, are
Well,
lonely. Like
no,
who,
people are just sometimes they understand that they're just more productive in the office,
uh,
and so one of the things is that they've noticed company wide is that the productivity is noticeably slipping for people who are working remotely or hybrid, and they're across the board, people are saying that the quality of work and also the productivity is going down. So they're very much like looking into that, like, hey, this is becoming starting to become a problem. We need to figure out how to reel this in. So that's gonna be fun. That's not something I'm looking forward to. Yeah, so I'm not really looking forward to that if they go to a mandate where we're gonna have to be in the office a lot more because I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely come to rely on some of that flexibility.
oh
And
yeah.
it's one of those things where, and I'm not certain it's going to be like a hard and fast mandate, but I think people are going to start looking at those metrics and they're going to start making some business decisions on some people that are working a little more hybrid than not hybrid. So because I have a feeling that there's going to be a very harsh 2025, 2026 economic downturn in my world. So that's going to be rough.
Are you saying that there's going to be a recession, or just saying like are you just like wink, wink, nod, nod? You're going to see some layoffs.
Both.
Uh,
I think we're going to see. I think there's going to be a really big slowdown in like commercial real estate and stuff over the next 2 years, and it's going to be rough. I
I
think
got
people are going to be
I'm gonna let you in a little secret. Commercial real estate hasn't been doing too hot the last couple of years either.
but even like housing, healthcare, warehouse boom, like there's it's going to be. I think there's going to be a pretty big slowdown, which is going to be rough for what I do, but it's neither here nor there. And so
Then
I
where is
think
it, Thomas? Where
well,
is it?
I don't know. Well, the other thing too is that if they do make as many cuts as they're looking to make in the federal government
The
as
easiest
they're
part of
trying to make
his job.
the cuts, yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be scary if they start. A lot of the federal workers that I know, they're like, oh, this could be a problem for a lot of people if they start cutting jobs left and right and start cutting regulations. Then a lot of jobs are going to go away because
I think you're gonna be surprised how much doesn't change. I know
hopefully,
you're talking about like the what is it, the Doji, Department of Government Efficiency Initiative.
well, that's part of it, but I also think that cutting environmental regulations is going to cut a lot of jobs because there's a lot of people in the government that are regulatory enforcers, and if there are no regulatory issues to enforce, then those people are all going to be out of a job. And then also if they're cutting the regulatory things that need to be done, then there's going to be a lack of consultants that need to do those things. Like part of my job is adhering to those regulations. And if those regulations don't exist, well, then then what am I doing? So
Yeah, but
it'll
I
be
think,
interesting to see
so
what
like
happens.
I think though you they what people say they want to do and what actually gets done are two very different things. I think you'd be surprised at the
Oh, yeah.
relative slim things that end up actually changing and some of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what actually shakes out. But, you know, prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Sure, of course,
You know,
always.
so
But the important thing is that we got to talk about our appliance problems.
oh yeah. Well, that's always the crux of the backbone of the Trade Jazz podcast is appliance problems. So, now that the winter is upon us, and you Southern boy down there, not getting your fill of snow, you know, us
Actually, I have a
Northerners, we
great
have to
statistic.
be prepared.
I saw a great statistic. This
Is
area
it relevant though? Does it
broke.
comparable to the other
Yeah, but
statistics?
it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a whole lot.
Right.
We broke the drought for snow in this metro of 1,077 days. There was no snow, which is very close to the amount of time I've been down here. We broke it by measuring one tenth of an inch.
Oh my God, 1/10 of an inch, and more than that
One
today.
tenth of an inch of snow. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to your point though, so with appliances and whatnot, so years ago, so we've been in this house for 7, 8 years or so, and years ago we got a pretty bad snowstorm. We got, I don't know, close to 2.5 feet of snow or something like that. It was a lot, and I didn't have a snowblower, so I was out there just hacking away in the driveway, just doing as best I can to go through it. And lo and behold, my all of my neighbors at the time are in their late 70s. So my next door neighbor,
Laughing at
he
you
had a snowblower.
with
Well,
your
no, he had a
shovel.
snowblower. So like I was out there for hours, and I like barely made a dent. And I went over to him and I said, "Hey man, can I borrow your snowblower?" He goes, "Yeah, if you do mine too." I said, "Done. I'll do yours. I'll do it. I don't care. Just give me your snowblower and I'll do it all. I don't care." So I was
That
fortunate
guy
enough
doesn't
where he
want to
let me
drop
borrow
dead
the
of a heart
snowblower.
attack.
Well, no, one of those things where when the young 20-something kid moved onto the block, it was we kind of felt obligated to look after all these old people, like make sure they weren't going to drop dead, because I didn't want to have to go outside and see my neighbor drop, in the 100-degree heat who was mowing his lawn drop dead. I'm like, oh, I gotta call somebody. I
This
gotta
is a
deal with this.
thing now.
Yeah, this is still put a damper on my Friday afternoon.
That's how
But
Jimmy
no,
Carter died, shoveling his driveway.
oh man, yeah. But yeah, that winter I was like, all right, next winter, like I gotta buy a snowblower. Now the problem with that is when I was looking for snowblowers, I was like, okay, well I'm gonna buy one, but I was trying to get one like relatively cheap because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on it because we really don't have a whole lot to snowblow. But when I need to snowblow, I need something that's going to work. So I was shopping around like Facebook Marketplace to see if I can get like a secondhand one, like pretty cheap or whatever. But then I had the problem is I can't really transport. So I had to buy one and they shipped it to me. And that's okay, cool. So they shipped it to me. So I've had it for a couple seasons. And usually in October, I'll start it up, make sure it's all good. I'll change the oil on it. I'll do what I got to do just to make sure that if we get a freak snowstorm in October or whatever, like I'm good for the season. Like I know what I'm doing. I'll change the spark plug. I'll do whatever I got to do. So this October, I tried to start it up, and I'm like, can't get it to go, can't get it to turn over. All right, I'll deal with it. And I just didn't get around to doing it. So then the weather forecast, like, oh, we're gonna get some snow. I'm like, crap. So I took like an hour and a half on a Friday, and I'm like, I took a day off to do a bunch of chores around the house. That was the Friday between Christmas and New Year's where I was like, I'm gonna try to do this and get all these things done. So I go out there and I try to like change the oil, because my thought was if I change the oil, if I change the spark plug, and if I like drain the gas and redo it, like if I can't get it to start then there's like a real problem with the carburetor or something. Like I need to bring it to somebody. So I tried to do all that, and I couldn't get to the point where I could like actually get the oil plug out where I have to change the oil. Like I couldn't get it off because it was like frozen. I'm like, I just can't get this. The weather was really cold, so I couldn't get it off. So I said, all right, fine. So I called a small engine repair guy, and he was going to be there on like the next day on Saturday. So I said, all right, I just need to figure out how to get it there. So my Chevy Equinox, which I had a very sturdy piece of plywood that I put in the back there, and I just kind of rolled it up in there, and then I ratchet strapped it at the back, so it was hanging out the back. And so I transported it to this guy, and I was like, here's the deal. I can't get it to start. So let's take a look at it. There's oil spurting out of the exhaust. It's this whole problem. So he goes, all right, let's try to start it up. So he plugs it in, he primes the pump a little bit, and he puts the electric start, and it starts up. Well, I said, well, that's farther than I got it. So we got to start, and he goes, yeah, I don't know what the problem was, but seems like it's fixed now. So
That'll be
okay,
$100.
yeah. So no, he's a super nice guy, but so I apparently there might have been something lodged like blocking the intake. So when I got it up on into my car and drove around for 15 minutes, it got it all loosened up and it started up right away, no problem. So let that be a lesson to everybody out there. Just jostle, just basically the equivalent of smacking the side of an old CRT TV. Just jostle, just bang on it for a while and just loosen up whatever's in there, and then you can start up whatever you want. But I got my snowblower to start, so that was the key. So that was nice. So now I have a snowblower that works for if and when we get a big massive snowstorm up here. So that's nice. I'm very happy with that. That was on my that was really like weighing on me because if I got a big snowstorm and I had to one get my wife to work or whatever, or I had to go somewhere, that'd be a mess. But but I'm good now, so I'm happy about that. That and if my neighbors need help, I can snow blow them out too. So that's nice. So
At a certain
that's where
point
I'm
in
at.
that story, I said, I'm just not going to talk. I'm just going to see how long it goes.
Yeah, I figured you just stopped. You just stopped responding, so I just kept going.
Right.
Didn't want to have dead air. You know, got to keep it going.
That's
But
true.
yeah,
That's
but
true.
I don't know. So like, so what's the deal with down there with you guys? Like, you got your tenth of an inch of snow. So
Yeah,
do
so
you
the
even own
world
a shovel?
stops. So it's classic. So the world stops. I was the asshole who went to the grocery store the morning of this before the storm. So just by dumb luck, by because we don't normally get too worked up about it. We're used to heavy snow. We know it's like okay, this is gonna be like melting by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But
Right.
by dumb luck, the we used the last of the milk in the house for breakfast. So I dropped the kids off and then I stopped at the grocery store and I was like that asshole buying milk because there's a snowstorm coming. And in true to
Yeah.
form, they were almost out. There was like two cartons left and I had to snag one. Generally down here, the real problem isn't that people are afraid of it. Like that's almost like a stereotype. The problem is that none of the townships bother to invest in salt and sand and
Right.
plows and all that stuff. So they're like
Right.
SOL in the once a year, once every 2 year ice over that they have. They just have to like sit and wait it out because there's nothing, they
Right.
don't have any tools for it. That's actually the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, a while ago, we went down to Maryland to a polar plunge for college, and it was snowing like hard in Maryland, and Maryland roads were terrible, not treated, whatever. Crossed the Maryland-Delaware border, and Delaware was fine. So Delaware, like, you know,
Big
invests in
old
all that.
FU to Maryland.
Yeah,
That's the way those
it
things
was
work. It's like this is like
it was crazy. Yeah,
unions,
yeah.
government jobs, those types of things. They're like, oh, there's the line. I'm
Yep,
done.
literally across the state line, and I was like, "Oh, smooth sailing." I'm like, all right, well, this is nice, you know. But yeah, yeah, all those southern states, yeah, and that's the big thing. They don't invest in the infrastructure because there's no need for it, typically. So
Right.
you know, when it does happen, what do you do? You know, so like, so goes back to my original question: do you own a shovel?
A snow shovel? No, we do not.
Yeah, right. So you like
Like
you,
I have like a garden shovel, like a shovel that like for like dirt, but not like a
right,
snow shovel.
right, because you know. Because it takes up space, and so that minimal investment for you to get a snow shovel for that one time that you'd have to potentially shovel, you know, like
It's never
just
come
didn't do it.
up.
Never come up.
I
Well,
mean,
that
that was
tenth.
sort of the point.
What did you do with
It's a
that tenth
feature,
of an
not
inch
a
of snow?
bug. It's not like I'm standing outside wondering where's the snow. I know exactly where the snow is, which is
Mm.
why I'm not there. That's how that
I
works.
see. Yeah, yeah. It
It
is.
was a deliberate decision to move somewhere where I didn't have to do that. When we also have some, I don't, it's like humble brag, like we have people do the lawn too, because I don't want to deal with
Yeah.
that shit. That's just not something I have an interest in doing. Like I was out of work for months and I still wouldn't mow fucking grass. I just wasn't gonna do it because otherwise I'd be killing 4 hours every Sunday. Like we have like rules and requirements for upkeep, and
Mm.
it just would have been like a
Yeah,
constant
that's
hassle.
terrible. Yeah,
What?
that's yeah. HOAs. Yeah, that's crazy. HOA rules are crazy. But yeah, but I mean, for me, like I got it down where I can probably get it done in about less than. If I mean, if I do a quick mow job, I can get it done in about 40 minutes if I need to. Like just to hack it down and get it done. But if I do it like decently, hour and a half on a Saturday, you know. So,
I asked my
but yeah,
wife
it's
for a
time
mow
consuming.
job. She laughed at me.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's time consuming. But at the same time, for me, the time isn't as important as the cash at this point. Like to pay someone to do it consistently is,
Yeah, it's I mean depends. It's tomato tomato. You
you
know,
know,
like I said, like I they're strict around here. Like
right.
I got a thing in the mail from the HOA because we had 8 days of growth.
8 days
Like
of growth. What the fuck is that?
it means the grass grew for 8 days and they deemed it too long and they said you got to get
Holy
that cut.
shit! You gotta be kidding me. That's insane.
And what happened was it was because they went around in like at like 9 a.m. and my guy didn't come until like 1 p.m.
That's insane. So what does that mean?
It means they wanted me to cut the grass.
So they didn't like fine you or anything like that. Was
Not
there a?
that, not like out of the gate, no. But they
That's
said like,
insane.
you're in violation. You got to get this fixed, or we're gonna like, fine you.
That's crazy. That's insane.
That's why I pay
That
someone because I'm like, I don't need this in
that
my life.
that's great. I can't believe that. Oh man, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that crap. Oh, that would drive me insane.
We didn't so we have all sorts of we have all that bullshit. I mean, this is like remember this is we're like 10% middle class fancy on this show. We got that that in us. The other one that's always fun is you can only have decorations up like until like I think Christmas they give you 10 days after Christmas to get it all down. Right? So after like you've so on December 25th the clock starts, you have to like I guess what would it be January 4th to take
Well,
the
that's
crap
not
down.
even so little Christmas. That's not fair.
I don't make the rules. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah, should be at least
part of.
January 7th. You know.
So you have to get everything down by then. So because we were just really busy, we only did indoor decorations. We put up like
Mm.
one like snowman thing in the front, and like that was it. To like just we didn't put outside decorations up, so it took me all of 12 and a half seconds to take them in, which was wonderful.
Hmm.
But then we had
Yeah.
the
See that
cold.
that really kind of like it puts a damper on that. Like people who would want to do that stuff. Like to me, driving around looking at Christmas lights is fun, and
Yeah, but you know what
people
I'll tell you
like.
the other side of the coin is that people are nuts here. They have their lights up on their house in full display first week of November.
So there's no rule as to how early you can put them up, but there's a rule how late you can put them up.
Well, you have the for the most part that's
So
true.
who's to say that on January 8th, I'm like, oh, I'm just getting ready for Christmas.
Well, it's because they have like a window per holiday. That's what it
That's
is.
so
So
silly.
like
So
people put their like Halloween stuff up and like October 1st, and
mm,
then like they take it all down on like November 1st, and then they'll just put their Christmas stuff right up.
I thought this was American. Thought thought
I
I
know
could
I don't
celebrate
make
whatever
I,
felt
that's just
November.
what they do. That's what they do here.
That's crazy. That's
It's not
insane.
so bad.
That sounds pretty bad. That sounds awful. It sounds terrible.
That's why we just
That
didn't do it. We're just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and that would be the default, I guess, where it's just you don't want to deal with the hassle of these busybodies of whatever. And I understand they want to live in a certain standard, but like that's just so crazy. I don't know. It's not hurting anybody that there's holiday decorations up on somebody else's property. Like, you know,
Well, some of these Mrs. Kravitzes would beg to differ.
I don't know. One of our a long time ago, one of our neighbors got an anonymous letter put in their mailbox by some neighbor. No, nobody knows who it is, saying that the outside of their house was like a disgrace and like
You are
it
an
looks it,
inconsiderate human being.
yeah, it was like I'm like this is terrible. Like that's insane. That's absolutely insane. I couldn't believe that somebody had the audacity to put a letter like that in their mailbox. And like they live on like the corner of like an intersection, and so they have a side yard and a front yard that are both street adjacent. So the side yard of their house has like toys for kids. Like they have like a trampoline and they've got, stuff out. And they have, three young kids and there were toys in the yard. And that's what they were complaining about. I'm like, get bent. Like this is ridiculous. They're kids and they're having fun and it's on their property. It's not a big deal. Like you don't like it, don't look at it. It's not that cute. It's not like it's obscene or like lewd or like, something insane. It's kids' toys at a house with kids. Like that's not outlandish to me. That seems normal. But
The like game theory of dealing with your neighbors is like a hell of a like suburbia like thing. Like
yeah,
My wife will loves to hear the gossip of the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like loves
No,
to hear like all the crap going on.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't. I
No,
don't
no, I'm not
care.
saying that I do either. I'm saying
Yeah.
but she'll hear about like the gossip. Oh, these people got, oh, this guy got like a DUI, blah 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 blah, blah, something
Mm.
like that. Uh, the it is comparable to like Desperate Housewives, Wisteria Lane, like
So,
drama
so is she
sometimes.
on the next door app or whatever it is? Or
Yeah, that's
yeah.
exactly right. Well, we were on like the Next Door app, and then she's also in like the private Facebook group for the department. But then she's also just like on group threads with her with so she
Yeah, with
gets
her.
all that
Yeah.
all that stuff. And but the point is, we do kind of find out about it because there's value in kind of knowing what's going on. I'm not disagreeing with her. She's kind of like that's like her job. Like she's
Mm.
it's like that's what she can do that. Just tell me if there's
That's
like all right. Just let me know if like a pedophile moves in. We won't go near his house. That's fine.
yeah. Yeah. Oh
Um,
man. So you can't have holiday decorations up, but you can let a pedophile in.
Evidently,
Like
evidently.
yeah, apparently.
There is
Like,
the one I have yet to find out that you can't. Let's put it that way. I am not
yeah, I
aware
guess
of one, but you know.
yeah. That man. Oh, that I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. That would really bother me. And I don't know if you saw the
The thing about it, let me say this though. Those are the positive people. I get it. It's a pain in the ass. You got to bitch about it. But on the one hand, you're not you choose to move in there and you choose to play by those rules. It's like going to like a private school versus a public school. Like if you're in a private school, you agree to wear the uniform and do whatever, and you pay the tuition.
yeah,
So you're just like, I get it. I want to play by your rules, so here I am. So you have to kind of think of it in that regard. The other thing about it is it's actually a pragmatic. If the ratios are right, it's a pragmatic way to maintain property values. It's a wealth thing, like
yeah,
100%. It's like
yeah,
we are not going to let the houses fall apart because we want to maintain curb appeal and the attractiveness of the neighborhood to keep property values up. It's plain and simple. Like that's what it is. That's why those things operate the way they do.
mm.
And you know what? For the most part, it works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Like you can see there's a clear differential between the homes in our area that are in like subdivisions that are like kind of like an HOA versus just like the ranch homes that are on like the side of the county road that just go, down the street.
yeah. I guess. I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time in that area of the country, but I guess maybe down there it's a little different. But um, it's interesting. So talking about HOAs and whatnot, and residential subdivision, and just residences in general. So like laws and other regulations have been moving in such a way where the only way you can build a residential subdivision nowadays is almost to have an HOA because of at least here where I am, that if you were to have build like a residential subdivision, there's a project that I was working on where it was like 50 acres of land, and they built like 20 lots on 50 acres. So they're like each lot is like 2 or 3 acres big, and they're like these massive estate lots. Well, in order to meet the regulations of like the state to deal with the stormwater management and other things like that, like there needs to be things that are commonly owned by an entity. So like a developer can't really go in, build a road, build a bunch of lots, and then peace out. I mean, and if they want to do that, they need to set up an entity who's like responsible for the maintenance of like say like stormwater issues and things like that. So like if there's a big basin on the site that like manages the runoff from the stormwater. So like all of a sudden you turn a farm field into houses and a roadway. Well, all that excess runoff has to be managed some way. Well, who's gonna be obligated to maintain that basin? And that's the question, right? So you almost have to set up an HOA so that there is an entity that somebody can point at and saying, well, they're responsible for the maintenance of this subdivision,
But
right?
can't it just be the
So,
township?
well, the township doesn't want to take ownership of those things
Watch how I
because
turn
they're
this full continue, but watch how I turn this full
well,
circle.
well, no, yeah. So, that's a good question. And in the
Thank you.
past, the township has taken over those controls, but then as more and more land gets developed, there's more and more of those things that are there. So then there's not enough township resources to maintain or to monitor those things.
Well,
So the township is
what they should do is they should slightly raise property taxes and then issue municipal bonds.
I see. Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
then they
Well,
do a municipal bond issuance with a slight property tax raise to manage to manage those basins. That's how that works. I read that on a Substack.
Yeah, yes, I believe I did read that as well on a Substack. There was a three-part series on the life of the municipal bond. It was quite
Quite a
riveting.
cliffhanger after part two. It took a
It
little
was.
while, but I
I was
got
on the edge of my
there.
seat. I was jonesing over the holidays. Like I was just
It's
white
just like
knuckling it.
sitting
Like I
there.
need
When
to
the
know what part three is. And
like, throwing a fit, getting drunk on Christmas. When the fuck is that third article gonna come out?
yeah, no, but yeah, and that's a challenging thing that people have been faced with in terms of municipalities because they have finite resources to deal with these things, and then so they basically the solution has been to just turn it on to the developers or a private entity of like that you need to maintain these things and you need to be able to be responsible for these things, and then also townships don't want to take dedication of roadways and things like that. So in terms of like snow removal or anything like that, like that's becoming more of a HOA thing, and that they're going to be
I
responsible for private snow removal and things like that. So
I
that
found out.
is
Go ahead. Finish.
no, so like that's unfortunately the trend of new development is that there's going to be almost a certainty that you're going to be buying a new development in HOA, and then what ends up happening is some of those HOAs take too many liberties and they get power hungry. And then they turn into these like horror stories that you hear about on some of the news stories, like HOAs like overstepping their bounds and causing crazy things. So like on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, he did a really good breakdown of HOAs and like why things are the way they are. And yeah, it was a couple of years ago when he did this, but it was a really good expose of like
I'll dig it
how
up. I'll put it on the
residential development.
I'll put it on the episode inclusion section of
Yeah,
the
I'll see if I
top.
can find it on YouTube. But yeah, it was a really good expose of like why HOAs exist now and how it came to be this way, and how HOAs are like basically overreaching and how they're creating problems for a lot of residences. And like you get these small potato people who become president of their HOAs and they just start overreaching, and then there's really no legal recourse to like stop them because which is a big problem. So
Yeah, you get like the power
or it can
hungry
be,
assholes.
or
That
it
happens in a
can
lot
be
of
a big problem.
retiree communities where like people are
Right.
retired and they have nothing
Well,
else going on, so they just sort of deal with it. What I found out, which I thought was super sneaky, but I'm like, cool, I'm on the good side of it, so I'll let it go, is down here, if you are an actual gated community, like you have an actual gate, you have like a swipe card or something, right? Then what
mhm.
happens is then what happens is you're responsible for everything on your side of the gate. So you're responsible for snow removal, you're responsible for repaving, you're responsible for a
Mhm.
water main break, any of that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah, because
So
it's not a public roadway.
right, exactly. And it's not,
Yep.
and I think there might be a clause where it has to be like a throughway. Like you have to be able to, you have to be able to enter in one and get out a different way. Like it can't be
Yep.
like,
Well, that's usually the case for a lot of things because of fire access, right? Because you don't want to
well, hold
have
on, let me just finish. So what we did was we just simply don't have a gate.
mm,
Like we still have like the arches and stuff.
mm,
Like it's like
yeah,
clearly that you could just throw a gate on there any day you want,
right.
but they didn't. So then the townships puts the bill for all of that stuff, and it's like, cool, good, problem solved.
Well, yeah, well, and that's probably something that happened when that community was created. So I don't know how old your community is. Like when was it built? Do you know?
I don't know,
You have no idea.
20 years ago.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, that it's one of those things where those rules change quite a bit. But back to the other point is that yeah, you can't really have one ingress and egress to a residential subdivision because devil's advocate, the township would be like, all right, what happens if there's a car crash at that entranceway and then a house goes on fire? And the fire truck can't get past those cars on those cars that are burnt up in the middle of that driveway and it can't get to the house that's on fire. So you have to have two ways of getting in and out so that if one is blocked, you can get out the other way. Or if there was an emergency, for instance, like and you needed to have those access points. So that's always something that you got to keep in mind when you're doing those communities and things like that. Like
Next
how does
time I
that
happen
play
to be
into
designing, it's like George fucking Costanza here, being a city planner architect, telling us the ins and outs.
yeah, well,
I appreciate it, but I don't think it's gonna come up for me in the immediate future.
well, no, but it's interesting you bring up the gated community aspect of it because that comes up every now and then with 55 and older communities. Whether or not they should or should not have a gate on their community, and that's always that's an interesting caveat with like the local rule that where you're at is okay. Well, if there's literally no physical gate, then the township has to bear some of that cost. So that seems like that's something that needs to be fleshed out at the planning level as to whether or not a gate is going to be there or not. But that's interesting that that your particular community does not have a gate, so they have to bear the brunt of that snow removal or whatever it is, paving and things like that. So
Yeah, the city
yeah.
put the bill this what are we in this fall. They did the entire development's roads. They just repaved the whole damn thing over the span of like two and a
Did
half
did they
weeks.
did they repave it or did they microfinish it? Because those are two different things.
They
So like
like they
did
like
they
they
did they
like tore it up and
uh,
then they repaved the whole thing
oh
with
so they
like
milled it over there. That's a
yeah
lot of cost.
yeah
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So one thing that some townships elect to do is what they'll do is they'll call it they'll microfinish it. So what they'll basically do is they'll put like a small layer of like micro
Finished.
asphalt. Well, yeah, micro asphalt over that. And what that does is it just kind of protects it for another few years. So rather than having to do a full mill and overlay, which is pretty costly in terms of like asphalt prices and things like that, and labor and construction, they could basically just spread out this like mixture of like tar and like coarse aggregate almost, and it creates like a protective layer on top of the wearing course so that it just makes it last longer. Now, what that does is when all that starts to like when you drive over it when it first stuck, then it starts to like kick up, it gets caught in your car and things like that, and it really pisses off the residents, but it protects the roadways. So it's cost benefit, So if you don't want to raise your taxes and you just want to keep the infrastructure in good shape, then you can microfinish it. But you know, it pisses off the residents in a different way. If you have a nice car, let's say it was a nice Saturday afternoon in the fall and you wanted to take out your hot rod and they just microfinish the road, and then all of a sudden when the underside of your car now has a bunch of microfinished asphalt things sticking to it, well then that's going to really piss you off. But other than
Yes, it
that,
will.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm
that's a cost saving measure for the township. So rather than having to invest all that money to redo it every so years, you could just microfinish it and increase the length of the life of your infrastructure at a fraction of the cost, which is there's you have to do it more times, but you can keep it going longer. So yeah, cost benefit. Yeah,
cool. I did not know that.
yeah,
Did not know that.
yeah.
We've definitely
It might not
veered.
work so well down where you are, but I'm
We
not.
veered
Yeah,
into civil engineering territory. I did not
yeah,
anticipate that, but that's okay.
yeah. Well, natural weather phenomenon. When you get to snow and appliance talk, and it's where the rubber
Once you get
meets the
that
road. Like,
appliance talking you, there's no
yeah,
stopping you. I understand.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that we didn't cover? Do we need to hit some sort of natural disaster or some sort of catastrophe to make this a complete podcast? We can talk about the LA fires. Did
The LA
you even
fires,
follow
yeah,
that one?
that's a
That's
rough one.
brutal. That's brutal. What's going on out there? That's really bad. It's not slowing down. So, yeah,
Yeah, it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see how that ultimately plays out. I know a lot of the insurers and all are going to get fucked. That's a problem.
Well, apparently, I think farmers canceled like $75,000, 75,000 insurance policies, like January 1st, for fire
They were
damage.
that I did hear stuff about that because of like the unique nature that it happened right after the first of the year. A lot of December
Yeah.
31st policies lapsed because every
Yes.
year a lot of December 31st policies will lapse because some percentage of people will either just forget or not care or be in arrears or whatever the
Right.
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
part I did hear that. That sucks.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. It just goes back to the infrastructure talk. Like, oh man, that's gonna be really bad. I don't know. I don't know why we're not investing in a lot more desalination plants and pumps to pump water inland. That's something that I don't understand.
I've
I
always
know
had like
the
this
the cost.
crackpot theory that you could just like pump water the way you pump oil. I don't know about the weight. I don't know all the. I don't know like the
I mean,
engineering
it's
of
a
it.
significant cost.
Hmm.
It's a significant cost to put that infrastructure in. But you know, and then also I'm talking desalination and whatnot. That's also a significant cost to do that. But I don't necessarily think that there's many other options, especially like out west where I think what is it the Colorado River, that the Colorado River Basin where they really screwed up how they um, divvy up the water. So basically, like the massive river out in the west, and they basically
Mhm.
said, okay, everybody can have this much water of the river. Like this state can have this much water, and this state can have this much water, and whatever,
I think
whatever.
I knew this.
But
Yeah.
they like they like oversold it. So like let's say there was like 10 million gallons of water or whatever. Well, they sold like 13 million gallons of water. So,
Hmm.
or like they did, it's like, so it's like, oh, that's a problem number one. And then also just with, severe droughts and things like that are going on. And what is it, like Lake Mead out in Vegas? It's just like continually going down and down and
Yeah,
down and
that's a
down
big
and down. And they're
problem.
starting to find
Mhm.
bodies and things.
Yeah, they start, yeah, I've heard
They're
that.
finding all the bodies from the 70s and things like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
heard I heard something else that Vegas related that I don't know how true this is, and I want to stop. So you ever hear when somebody says like, "Oh, I'm going to 86 that,"
Yes.
like in the restaurant industry, it's like, "Oh, 86 the mayo or 86 the whatever." Like they don't have it on the menu anymore.
Right.
So I was listening to a video or something about, and a guy was shadowing a CEO of a Vegas hotel, and he was saying, "Oh, somebody said like 86 that," and he said, "Oh, you know where 86 comes from?" He goes, "Oh, used to take the cheaters in Vegas 8 miles out and put them 6 feet under." Which I thought
Hmm.
was something. I'm like, I don't know how accurate that is, but or if that's just like a funny little Vegas thing that they say. But that's interesting if that's
It's
true.
probably been like this funny Vegas thing that's been said for like 60 years now, you know?
That I'm
Like
just hearing now, and I'm thinking it's fun. Yeah, but yeah. But that was a fun little Vegas tidbit, I thought. But but
we
yeah,
should do more on Vegas.
all the droughts and things like that. We should. But to the water shortage and things like that, like I just don't understand how we're not investing in more infrastructure for desalination and pumps to major metropolis. Like I just don't understand how we're not investing in that because it, it's only going to get worse, and it's really bad.
Yeah, I keep waiting for so I just talked about copper and like the metal and like the demand for that is like a direct commodities play.
Mm-hmm.
Um Water has always been like so the famous ending of not the famous ending but the ending of The Big Short, which I'm trying to I think this year in 2025 we're going to incorporate a lot more Wall Street movies and discussions around those. That's sort of my rough plan.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of The Big Short, they say after Michael Berry ended his or closed out his swap trades and banked on the great financial crisis, he pivoted towards water as the next
Right,
investment
because future
opportunity.
wars will not be fought over oil; it'll be fought over water.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing that
Yeah.
happened with him. Thing is, like water is surprisingly hard to trade directly. Like there aren't just like spot month water futures you could just buy or like and water ETFs are like slim pickings. It's kind of a very like
Yeah, because
privatized deal. So but here's
yeah,
my point though. It's like so interesting how privatized something like water actually sort of is.
yeah, yeah, and it's such an interesting natural resource where like you think it's everywhere, but it's not, and that's the thing that's crazy about it is so you can think of water in a couple different ways, right? So you've got surface water, things you can see, and then you've got groundwater, which the aquifer down below that is recharged in a lot of different ways. So that's whether or not infiltration going, things like that. So a lot of the things that I do for development, in particular stormwater management, is you have to recharge the aquifer. So like if you have a big field, right, and it rains, well, some of that water is going to go down into the ground because it's lawn or a field and whatever, and it's all going to eventually trickle down. So there's a certain amount that goes into the ground and a certain amount that runs off. Well, all of a sudden, if you put a big parking lot there, well, you're preventing that abstraction that goes into the ground. It's all just running off. Well, then, okay, all that runoff then hits the rivers and things like that, and you're not getting as much recharge for the aquifer. So then now all of a sudden that people are relying on groundwater wells and things like that, and a lot of the ecosystems that are down there, that creates a bit of a problem. So there's rules in place here that you have to basically put into the ground or not increase the volume that's leaving your particular site, which is great in theory. Then there's a whole bunch of other things go on, but when that happens and you don't replace that, that has crazy ramifications. And with all the development that's gone on over the last 50 years, yeah, it's very much changed the characteristics of aquifers and things like that. And in areas where there's limestone geology and things like that, creates caverns, which then creates sinkholes, and then with more severe weather, all of a sudden, if you get a big flood of certain aspects, then all those caverns potentially could either fill up, or the groundwater would swell or shrink or something like that, which then creates a whole bunch of infrastructure from a geotechnical standpoint, which then is another mess. So all these natural disasters that we're dealing with are just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's gonna get bad. So yeah, not looking forward to it.
I
So
liked it better when we talked about 9/11.
yeah, well, that was in the past. Don't want to project forward. Oh, now we are projecting forward, so it's gonna be rough. But hopefully things get better rather than worse. So
All right.
yeah,
On that note,
yeah,
you can get off your soapbox. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you giving us the lowdown on all of this civil engineering perspective on things. In truth, though, if you're looking for like good trade ideas, especially in like the commodity space, the interest rate space, taking it from that like different like geopolitical end and like the civil engineering side is definitely a play. That's why a lot of the like iBanking places and research wings of funds all try to hire different people in different majors so that they can give a different perspective on it.
oh yeah, that definitely makes sense because you only know what you know, and somebody who's very much in the know in something that you know nothing about give you a very different perspective on something that nobody else is seeing. So that's very important. But the
That's
one
why
one thing
I,
that
sir, know nothing.
uh ah
Mm,
man
keep them on their
that
toes.
yeah. So
But
one thing we didn't ask was you have any resolutions?
do I have any New Year's resolutions?
Hmm.
All right. Well, I my New Year's resolutions was to not move homes again, not have any more kids, not lose my job.
Those are good ones.
If I can not do any of those things, I'll have a good year
That's good.
because I've
That's
done
good.
one or more of those things pretty much
Every year.
every year.
That's good. So stabilize. Your New Year's resolution is
Stabilize
to
is my
stabilize.
objective.
That's
Yes, I'm
that's
gonna
the theme of
I'm
2025.
I'm just white
Stabilize.
knuckling it to 2030. That's my plan.
Yeah, yeah. So in the beginning of 2024, I brought up trying to do one additional push-up every day, right? So you start at one, and then next day you do two, and then do all the way to 366 through 2024, to see if that could be done. And not even close. So
I
the
stopped at
mental
9.
the mental discipline to do it is extremely hard, and then also the physical toll on it when you get up to like if you miss a day and you're trying to catch up and stuff. Like once you get into the triple digits, it really takes a toll on your shoulders and things like that if you're trying to do that.
But you're not giving
Even
yourself
if
any
you
recovery time. It's like a
well,
fool's
right,
errand to
exactly.
begin with. You're not like
Well,
training your body correctly. You're just stressing your body as like a
anyway,
dare. It's like
so
sticking
one
your
guy
arm in the cold water and seeing who pulls their arm out first. You might as well be doing that.
so one guy in our group did it, and but he was doing like 100 push-ups a day anyway to start, like beforehand. So like just before the year started, so he was in pretty good shape, and he had a pretty good routine down, so he knew what he was doing. So he muscled his way through it and got through it. But so the question was, is there any good challenges that we could do for 2025? And people were bringing up, like different things that they wanted to do. So one person brought up like uh, between walking, jogging, and running, can you do 1,000 miles through the course of the year?
Like just on a pedometer.
Yeah, just 1,000 miles. So roughly, a little under 3 miles a day, or a little over 3 miles a day, whatever that works out to be. You know,
No.
yeah, it depends on what you're doing. Like a sedentary lifestyle, like if you're sitting at an office desk all day, that's really hard. But like somebody like my wife who's on her feet all day, she's like, oh yeah, no problem, I can knock that out. And she's walking around an office all day for 8 hours a day. Like she probably walks 3 miles a day, no problem. But so that was another one. Um, I brought up trying to run a quarter mile a week and increase it by a quarter mile a week, and then by the end of the year, you're running 13 miles a week. That's not bad.
Those are all just like physical, like fitness
Yeah.
challenges, though.
Well, yeah, that's what it started out as. So I mean, some sort of 2025 challenge, and trying to
I don't
come up
know.
with. That's who has the
Uh,
time, right?
I don't know. Don't die. Yeah,
Don't
survive.
die, don't die. Well, Jimmy Carter lost.
Right, there was such a great meme. It was a chart, and it showed the it was a Polymarket predictions market chart. We're gonna end on this. It was a Polymarket prediction market chart, and it was will Jimmy Carter die in 2024? And so it showed the 1 year chart of it, and it like dribbled down, 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 whoop, and then it hit like right on whatever it was, like the 29th. And
Yeah.
I was just like, that's just like that's like what it's all about. Just those great
Yeah.
types of things.
Yeah, the internet can surprise you sometimes. They come up with
Not
some
even
good
the
ones.
internet. It's just like great like charts like that. Like just perfect. Perfect. That sums it
Yeah.
all up.
Yeah.
Um all right, well I think that's where we're gonna leave it. So we are in January expiration. Today is January 17th. So everybody who there is no way somebody listened all the way to the end of this and doesn't know what type of things get produced. I'd be very impressed if somebody just like, hey, what's this? And then like watch the whole bit.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, we're so Substacks are gonna drop every Tuesday mostly. It's plausible it couldn't happen every so often now, but I'm gonna try to forewarn. Then we got Instagram, we got the Etsy store, which had a killer December. Killer December, tripled my revenue. Got us some new reviews. Good stuff. Nobody bought any of the Christmas swag, ironically, but some people bought the other stuff. But that went well. So, and then we'll see what else happens between now and next month. So, Thomas, thank you, sir. You'll be back next month. We'll see who else we can get. I'm gonna fix the clips too. 3-person clips were terrible. They didn't even go up.
Mhm.
It was like a
Got it.
terrible like mishmash. It didn't look good at all. So I got to figure out how to fix that. But we'll
Yep.
get there.
All right.
So do you want any last parting words, sir?
No, I'm looking forward to 2025, and I'm gonna get my Cupid outfit on for next month.
Ooh. All right.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.